Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today we're going to be talking about some recent threats that the Chinese have made towards the United States, okay? Now this is actually pretty serious because in a very literal way we are talking about the two biggest superpowers on the planet going head-to-head with one another in what could escalate into a full-on military conflict if it were to break down. I feel like most people kind of know at least the basics about Taiwan and China. The entire thing has been one of the biggest stories, I guess, in politics and in global affairs. Over the last few years, it's been becoming more and more of a concern as time goes on, obviously, but today's video is sponsored by Shoptimus, the official home of Optimus merch. We just launched our summer 2022 collection and we're passing savings on to you. Most of our products are made right here in the USA, and last year we had over a 99% satisfaction rating with our clothes, accessories, and digital products. With the summer weather here, it's crucial to be comfortable in durable clothing, and our soft, true-to-size shirts are perfect for this weather. With LED mouse pads, posters, shirts, hoodies, shorts, phone accessories, and much more, Shoptimus is your one-stop shop for anything Optimus. You can also get my new book, 10 Years of YouTube, My Journeys ebook, and more. And the best part is, you can shop right here on YouTube. We've connected Shoptimus and Optimus to give you a seamless, easy-to-shop experience right underneath all of your favorite Optimus uploads. But don't wait, use code BESTFANSEVER at checkout for 10% off your entire order. Whether you spend $5 or $100, you can get 10% off today off your entire order at Shoptimus. Go to www.shoptimus.net for more. China and Taiwan don't get along very well, and that actually bodes pretty badly for global politics, because Taiwan, at least here in the West, by most people are kind of seen as like the righteous side in this entire thing, but yet China really wants people to not think that, and they will apparently go by any means necessary to basically make sure that people know that. So basically right now the United States is considering sending a high-level official to Taiwan. Honestly, this could boil down to World War III if everything went wrong, if everything spiraled out of control, because in a way China and Taiwan are playing a really big game of cat and mouse. The Chinese claim that they want to reunify, quote-unquote, Taiwan into the mainland of China and basically take them back under control. The Taiwanese see themselves as an independent nation, essentially, and they believe they have the right to dictate their own affairs. Honestly, I personally agree with the Taiwanese. Taiwan sees themselves as the one true China, while the Chinese Communist Party essentially just want to control Taiwan in the way that they do over mainland China, which, if you know anything about Chinese politics, it's essentially a dictatorship over there, man. They run their country pretty crazy. And that's coming from an American, man. I mean, the Chinese, they do some crazy stuff over there. The Chinese Communist Party is genuinely, in my opinion, one of the biggest threats to global security. So I'm going to basically open this all up with this here. Nancy Pelosi is the one who's kind of, I guess, the focal point of this entire situation. Whether you like her, whether you hate her, I think we can all agree that we don't want the Chinese to do something to an American politician that would lead to chaos only. Like, I don't even know what would happen in the immediate aftermath. I hope that we never have to find out, but I can only really imagine that shit would hit the fan pretty quickly and pretty aggressively. The killing of a high-level US politician would be a danger to society like no other. In my opinion, there's not really that much that's more dangerous than the United States after the hornet's nest has been kicked. If there's one thing about America I can say, when people fuck with us, it gets really bad really quick. There's very few societies on the planet that will so quickly go from peacetime to just a war-crazed, like, hive mind. The United States is literally that guy. And if China, who is probably the biggest enemy of the United States on the planet in all reality, were to do something so crazy as to harm a high-level US politician, I can really only imagine how things would go. So, reported plans for the US House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to visit Taiwan could spark one of the most perilous moments in cross-strait relations for decades, analysts have warned. Pelosi's visit has not been confirmed, but there's speculation it could occur in the coming weeks. She would be the highest-ranked US official to visit since Newt Gingrich in 1997. China has warned that a visit by Pelosi would have, quote, consequences. I think the Chinese have to do more than they did in 1997. Xi Jinping can't be seen as weak on this, said Bonnie S. Glaser, director of the Asia program at the German Marshall Fund think tank. It's a very dangerous moment. I think very few people actually realize how dangerous this is. The Chinese government and military strongly object to all foreign visits or expressions of support for Taiwan, and the heightened reaction to a visit by Pelosi, a longtime critic of the Chinese government, has sparked serious concern. China's Communist Party, or the CCP, government claims that democratically self-ruled Taiwan is a breakaway province which must be, quote, reunited with the mainland, ideally peacefully, but by force if necessary. So this is a pretty big game of hot potato, right? Like everyone's kind of just throwing the fault of this entire situation around. The Chinese blame the US for escalating tensions with Taiwan. They obviously don't want us to show support for Taiwan to this degree. Taiwan and the United States blames China for escalating everything by constantly basically making threats to invade or use military force against the Taiwanese. And to be honest, it's not the most fun game of hot potato, because whoever catches the hot potato for the longest might actually spark World War III. You think the Russia versus Ukraine situation's bad? Global hell could literally break loose if the United States and China end up in a direct conflict with one another. And over Taiwan, that's probably the highest likelihood in which the two countries could go head to head. Now, you're probably sitting here wondering, oh, Optimus, why is this even a concern? We obviously know the Chinese aren't gonna do anything. Well, that's not completely ruled out, and that's not completely impossible. In fact, you might think that the Chinese won't do anything, but it seems like the military is actually very concerned that the Chinese might legitimately shoot Nancy Pelosi's plane down. Last week, the US President Joe Biden said his understanding was that the US military did not want Pelosi to visit. Pelosi speculated there were concerns her plane may be shot down. Such drastic military action by China is not considered likely, but on Tuesday, China's defense ministry said that it would, quote, not sit idly by. It threatened strong measures in order to thwart any external interference, and it would also stop Taiwan independence separatist attempts, state media said. Hu Zijin, a nationalistic Chinese commentator and former editor of the state-backed paper The Global Times, has speculated that China's People Liberation Army could send jets over the island of Taiwan for the first time since the Civil War ended in 1949. Such an act would mark a major escalation from the hundreds of sorties made into Taiwan's air defense identification zone, but not its sovereign airspace in recent years. Glaser said Taiwan would be forced to scramble jets in response, adding, there's always potential for an accident, but even if there's not, the Chinese are demonstrating they can fly over Taiwan with impunity because Taiwan is not going to fire on them. Analysts said the US administration's response to the plans and China's reaction meant it was difficult to de-escalate the situation without either China or the US appearing weak. Now, this is the big thing, right? Obviously, both sides are basically vying for the spot of the #1 country in the world, right? Like the United States is still pretty much the superpower of the planet, but China is starting to rise over the last few decades, and they're starting to pose a potential threat to the US's, whatever you really want to call it. I mean, US dominance, I guess, over the planet. I mean, both sides basically don't want to look like bitches, and it's kind of understandable, but my whole thing here is, can we really let the Chinese constantly threaten us and make us feel unsafe and make us feel like they're gonna do something? As a country, as the United States of America, can we just stand idly by while the Chinese basically dictate our foreign policy for us? In all reality, I don't think the Chinese are actually gonna do anything. Now, of course, I'm just some guy sitting in his fucking bedroom here, but I mean, just from my logic here, right, why would the Chinese really want to risk a global conflict in which many of the top countries in the world directly are fighting against them? It really just doesn't make sense over something that in all reality isn't even a complete game changer. I mean, yeah, it's the first time in a long time that the United States has sent somebody so important to Taiwan, but is it really worth risking World War III over? Is this something the Chinese really consider to be sustainable? Honestly, I don't really see it being sustainable. I mean, you can sit here and you can make small talk and you can make threats all you want, but if the United States goes through with this and you don't do shit, then obviously you kind of just got punked. And that's kind of the problem. That's kind of the conundrum here. Both sides don't want to get punked. Both sides don't want to look like the coward. Both sides don't want to look like their grasp on global politics is threatened in any way. Now, in all reality, are we going to see Nancy Pelosi Pelosi's plane get sunk into the ocean? I don't think so. I really hope not, man, because like I said, it's hard to imagine what could really happen if something like that went down. As an American, I can openly tell you if the Chinese were to basically assassinate a US politician on a peaceful visit to another place, you would have tens, if not hundreds of millions of Americans openly calling for war. And like I said, people can say whatever they want about the United States, but one thing you cannot take away from this country is the way we rally together and unite in times of strife like this. I mean, just look at like 9/11, right? Like you've never seen a country so united and so determined to do something as you saw after 9/11. And the United States has shown this to happen multiple times throughout history. Basically, the United States is the epitome of fuck around and find out. And honestly, I really don't think the Chinese want to fuck around and find out. So hopefully the Chinese kind of learn their place here and stop making stupid fucking threats. And basically, I mean, it's probably gonna happen at some point, right? Like, you can't just avoid US politicians going to this place forever. Eventually, it's gonna happen. Whether it's Nancy Pelosi or it's somebody else, eventually the United States is gonna test China's gangster. It's gonna happen. Whether or not they respond forcefully, we'll have to wait and see, but in the next few weeks, we might actually find out. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel, follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at @SubToOptimus. Make sure to check out Shoptimus down below, and until my next video, guys, this is Optimus, well, telling China to just fuck around and find out, I guess, and signing out.